Us in Baltimore, some work done, staying inside, maybe going to a hockey rink and watching the Caps. I thought about it on Tuesday night. The Vancouver Canucks were in, and I have some friends from Vancouver that love the Canucks and whatnot. On a Tuesday night, they were giving away interesting little bomber hats, but alas, I abstained, and the Capitals have continued their torrid streak without me in the house. Ed Frankovic joins us now. He is our Caps historian, blogger, and insider at WNST.net. You can find him at Ed Frankovic out on Twitter, as well as at Ed at WNST.net. Garden Variety 3-1 win, right, Ed?
Yeah, your friends have to be quite loyal to stick with that team because that team has really been run poorly the last few years, and they're, as they blogged at WNST.net, I consider them one of the league's doormats. But you know, the Canucks whipped the Capitals really bad early in the season, 6-2. We talked about that bad West Coast swing. So I expected Washington to come out and really play well. And I thought they did. And even though the scoreboard only said 3-1, the Capitals really carried the play in that game. They dominated the game. Second period, the Capitals have really struggled in that all year. They were fantastic. Might have been the best second period the Caps played all year, except for the fact that they overpassed again and didn't take the shots they had. But overall, pretty pleased with the effort. I just don't like the fact that they continue to pass up shots from the high danger areas, and you can read all about that out at WNST.net.
I know. I sense that in the second and third period of the game where, you know, the game could have been 5-6-1. And, you know, let's hear it for defense. Let's hear it for playing, as our dear departed friend Brian Murray would say, responsibly, you know, defensively, right? You know, not a lot of attempts on these sleepy Tuesday nights when these West Coast teams come in and you don't know them so well, and you don't know tendencies so well, and you don't get a whole lot of prep time, maybe as much. You look and it can be a danger zone because it can be a little sleepy this time of the year. Boy, whatever Trotz has them doing to focus, they look like they come to the rink pretty well prepared every night. And as we've pointed out here many, many times, maybe not guns a-blaring where they skate onto the ice with the most amount of talent every night, as they've done the last couple of years. That really isn't the way that this team's got a little bit more grit and moxie, and it's going to need that come playoff time for sure.
Yeah, the grit and the moxie was out on Tuesday night because I thought Tom Wilson had a fantastic game. Six shots on net, 7 hits. He was just good job on the penalty kill, even though they gave up the one goal for 5-on-3, and that was because Stevenson jumped on the ice too soon when Wilson was coming off. But I really like the way he played. I like the way he's playing. Everywhere Trotz puts him in the lineup right now, he seems to bring the guys up. And that line of Kuznetsov, Barana, and Wilson was really good on Tuesday night. Jacob Barana was really using his legs at 6 shots on net. You know, there were some guys putting pucks on net. They just weren't going in, and I really like that. But then there were others that they were getting that Kenny Loggins danger zone. I like that reference there, the little danger zone reference from you. And they just wouldn't shoot.
I'm going to drop more pop culture references here throughout the year. You know what I mean? So, especially for the old-time hockey fans, you know, like, I would just say, you know, for them right now, I don't know how you could complain if you're watching them play right now, right? Like, as sports fans, the only complaint is what will they do in April, right? And that would be the complaint if they were playing sort of mediocre hockey right now. You wouldn't have visions, but you can sort of envision in a 7-game series the way they're playing right now, the way they're coming together, that if they can stay healthy 2.5 months from now, you know, they're going to be a tough team to play. I mean, especially a tough team to score goals against.
Yeah, they are definitely they're playing a nice style, Ness. And, you know, Ovechkin's in great shape, and he had another strong outing on Tuesday. And, you know, you talk about the complaints, and there's not a lot. You know, you need to enjoy this. I mean, they won 10 in a row at home, but, you know, there's a crew in hockey. There's this underling, and you know, it started with baseball with analytics, right? And the analytics thing is it really applies well to baseball. Baseball is a very easy game to measure with stats and analytics. It's a lot tougher when you're getting into football and especially hockey.
Look, baseball it jumped the shark for me when it went to how does he fare on day games versus night games indoors on AstroTurf against left-handed pitch. You could get paralyzed by it. And to me, some of it makes it less fun, not more fun, on a deep dive level on baseball specifically. And I can only imagine, and anytime I've ever been with Trotz, over the last 25 years, what's happened in hockey is as exponential as in any sport at this point, right? The measurement of everything,
Well, where did you meet me? I was doing stats, for the Capitals, and I did that for years, and we measured stuff. But hockey's chaos theory. I mean, you and I have been watching this game since for forever, and there's people that get out there and get their spreadsheets out, and they look at shot attempts only, and they try to quantify things. There was a whole thread on Twitter on Tuesday before the Vancouver game that the Capitals are out doing what they should be expected. It's based on shot attempts, but it doesn't take into account where they're coming from, high danger chances, the skill of the goalies, the skill of the players. I mean, let's be honest. The Capitals have arguably the best goaltending duo in the league, and Philip Grubauer was really good, great again on Tuesday, but they didn't have to make a lot of shots, a lot of saves. Vancouver had 38 shots. He made a lot of stops, but he didn't have to make a lot of quality stops because the Capitals kept him on the perimeter. And it really bugs me when people try to quantify hockey from the spreadsheet, with shot attempts, because the game is not linear. It's chaos theory. You got to look where the shots are coming from. The Capitals had the puck the majority of the game, even though the shot attempts were 73-65 for Vancouver. But the Capitals, they're trying to set up and make that perfect play. Now, that's a bit of a flaw, but if you're trying to say the team didn't play well because they got outshot attempted, well, you obviously didn't watch the game because that was a dominant performance.
Well, and, I remember Trotz sitting up at Buffalo Wild Wings in Bel Air with us at one point, rolled his eyes at you, right? I mean, literally on camera and said, "Oh, you're a stats guy, are you?" Right?
Well, he called me an ice time guy.
Ice time guy. That's what that's what it was. So if he calls you an ice time guy, he knows that you're a stats guy, but there's no bigger stats guy than him, right? He knows every statistical measurement of everything. Now, how you weigh them and how you use them, or how, and I guess that's part of the whole baseball thing. I mean, I have friends in baseball who are bench coaches, right? And they've expressed to me that if you were a bench coach in 1999 in Major League Baseball, you were a guy that, had some skull and sat at the end of the bench and rocked along with the manager, and you're thinking through the reliever and all that. That job 20 years later now is being at the ballpark at noon and pouring through 3 hours of stats to try to figure out in the 8th inning what matchup, what left-hander, what shade, what pitch, what, everything, what video cut up you can look at to give yourself the best advantage in a 7th or 8th inning matchup based on how many outs, who's up, who's on the bench, who's in your bullpen, who's rested, who's not, individual matchups, who are they going to bring off the bench. All of that stuff needs to be measured at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And, I think from a fan standpoint, in any sport, a lot of that's just, even with the websites going behind the scenes, and the Ravens do a nice job, as nice a job as anybody in sports, of trying to show you the nerdery that goes into being a coach and into this assignment that Wink Martindale's just taken on. But, it really sort of bears out on a Tuesday night with how fresh your legs are and measuring how much gas you have in everybody's gas tank. And part of that is, who's going to be the goalie, right? Like, why are you starting your backup goalie? Do you have a backup goalie that's good enough to start? You use that term backup goalie or number 2 or whatever the polishing of that would be, but you need to win these games too, and they measure up to make sure you're on home ice in April and May for a Game 7 that you may or may not win, and the Caps have, they haven't had great luck with that lately, the last 40 years or so, but you still want that. And you look up right now, and dude, if you're asleep and you're not a Caps fan and you don't know that the Williamses are gone and the Johansson, all the changes in the universe, you look up, you say, well, they're 27-13-3. They never lose at home. they're healthy. They win with their starting goalie. They win with their backup goalie. They win at home. They win on the road, and even on the road when they lose, they're not losing 6-1. They don't take nights off like ever. From a coaching standpoint, from an effort standpoint. When's the last time you spanked them for being asleep? So, they're in a nice spot right now. They're where you would want them to be, and it feels like a lot of effort, but it doesn't feel like a level of fatigue, and it also feels like, hey, they get next week off, right?
Yeah, they get their 5-day bye break next week starting on Saturday. But, yeah, there's a stat that I saw on NHL Network after the game on Tuesday night that said the Capitals have the best home points percentage since the start of the 2013-14 season, and that was a year before Trotz was here. I mean, they've been great at home, and they haven't delivered in the playoffs at home. I mean, you and I have been at so many of those Game 7 losses, but they really need it this year, Nats, because they need the matchups. And we talk the stats. The baseball matchup thing is a factor in hockey. That Trotz looks at the matchups, and when people look at these advanced stats and they start saying, well, this guy his Corsi, which just measures shot attempts, is like 45%. Well, there's times where like a guy like Brooks Orpik's going to get that more tougher matchup against the other team's best players so that other guys can have an advantage and they can take advantage and exploit those weaknesses. So you can't just look at one guy and look at his shot attempts. Hockey's such a team game. It's so interrelated. It's not one-on-one like baseball where it's pitcher versus batter. There are all kinds of intricacies to the games. It's just nonlinear. I mean, that's the only way I can describe it. And
when you just talk about changing up lines, right? Just something as simple as let's let that guy skate with that guy for a couple of shifts, against New Jersey. Everything gets crazy, especially when there's an injury in the middle of the game and line shift, right? Like fans have no idea how chaotic that can be.
Yeah, and it's been one of the areas the Capitals have had some issues with too many men this season. So, and they got too many men on Tuesday. They allowed a goal, and that one shouldn't have happened the way it did because it was shorthanded. I mean, it's going to be blatantly obvious if you change really early on a PK when you only have 4 guys on the ice.
Weren't you quoting some Led Zeppelin, some communication breakdown or something out on Twitter? Was that you?
Yeah, somebody. It wasn't me actually, but somebody did. And that was more pop culture references. I love those. I love to shove those into my blog to make it fun to read. So, but I was pleased with the effort. I just wish they would have had a little more finish. And if you look at the 3 goals they scored, I mean, they weren't pretty plays. They weren't the Harlem Globetrotter plays they were trying to make there in the second period. They scored those 3 goals in about 10 minutes. Every one of them was just a guy throwing a puck on net. And Jacob Markstrom, he's the Capitals have been his kryptonite. He's 0-6 against the Capitals lifetime. He's a big goalie. Florida drafted him, really had high hopes for him, but he's never really panned out. Part of that's coaching, part of that's on him. But
hey, by the way, I wanted to ask you about that goal and the net being on the back of the goalie. Look, so I can see that from both perspectives, right? Like, it's almost like the slide at second base where you give the benefit of the doubt one way or another. And, I've seen a million defensemen knock the goal off its moorings on purpose, elbowing it out, hamming it up, like soccer players, right? All the theater that comes with it. I tell you what, that net was off its mooring for like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. I mean, and it didn't look like the defenseman was in a hurry to shove it back down. So there was some gamesmanship going on, and they're looking for a whistle because the puck's in the zone to begin with, and Ovechkin's on the ice. But, I could see that one both ways, and my wife and I were literally arguing about it in the living room. She's like, come on, dude, that goal's got to stand. And Lachlan's like, that goal's got to stand. And I'm like, I don't know, man. If I were the goalie and the defenseman, I'd be looking for a little leniency here to say, dude, the net was upside down for 4 seconds. You got to blow a whistle here. I don't know where the fair medium is, but that was a unique play that in the old days, dude, that wouldn't have been a goal. Without replay, they would have blown that thing dead, and that just would not have been a goal in old-time hockey. In new-time hockey, it's sort of play on and, screw you for dilly-dallying, shall we say, right?
Well, what's the old axiom? Your wife is always right. Jim was right, but in the old days, you're right.
So was Greg Lachlan. He's always right, too.
I love Locker. That would not have been a goal in the old days, but what they did was they changed the rule a few years ago, Ness. And if you watch the replay, and I watched it several times, the net does stay on its moorings. It comes up in the back, and they put it, and they put in the rules that if the pegs don't come off, and by the time the shot goes in, the net is down. That's a goal, and you look. That's what happened.
Do you remember the scrambler? At the Colgate Carnival, where you would go and the thing would sort of like dump you up, or was that the tilt-a-whirl? I don't know which one that was, but where you would be all the way up and almost over. That was the play there. That was the cage. Like. I'm blown away that you can't get a whistle for that. I literally, like, there has to come a point where, like, dude, there's no net. I mean, the net was 2 feet off the ice. I mean, it was crazy.
Well, in the back it was off.
It was off 2 feet.
In the back, right. But they put the rule in that as long as it's on the front and it's down by the time the puck goes in, it's a goal. And like you said, Del Zotto was dilly-dallying there in front. I don't know what he was doing, but...
I mean, he almost deserved it, right? Like, I mean, that's kind of how I justified it. I'm like, for dilly-dallying, no soup for you, Ovechkin take the goal. But I would say if it were the Capital net, I would have felt like I wanted a little wink, nudge on that, I mean, especially on a goal. But, now they call for Toronto, right? I mean, they get help from the worldwide lair and the headquarters, and they bless these things these days, right?
Yes, and, and then he tried to challenge for goalie interference. I mean, the goalie interference was by his own guy hitting the net from behind on top of him. It was just a strange play, and it just, I mean, Vancouver, I call them a doormat because that's what they are in this league this year. I'm sorry for your friends.
But it's a great place to visit. I swear it is.
Oh, beautiful there. Yeah, for sure. But they, it's the play by Del Zotto is stupid, right? Why is he, turn around and play the game.
Play the game, right.
Let the goalie deal with the net. Let the let the referee blow the whistle. If he turns around and plays, he probably blocks the shot because it wasn't exactly a strong shot by Carlson. It was a heads-up play by Carlson just to throw it on net. And again, that's my point back to Capitals. Hey, any shot on net is never a bad thing. It could lead to a rebound. The goalie could screw it up. The guy could be messing with the net and it goes in. The Capitals just got to get. That's the thing they got to focus on this last half of the season is more pucks to the net. When they're in those high danger areas because they don't. Maybe they're so used to Holtby and Grubauer in practice they feel like they have to be perfect to score. But the other goalies in the league are not those two guys. There's some really good goalies, but Jacob Markstrom definitely isn't one of them.
He is Ed Frankovic. He is Ed Frankovic on Twitter. Each and every night the Caps are playing, he's out there. And, of course, Ed at WNST.net. His blog can be read as well. Caps with a 3-1 victory on the back end of a 4-3 OT victory against St. Louis on Sunday night. They won down in Carolina. They haven't lost this year, so I don't know how long we'll be able to say that. And certainly going into the skid and into the break here, back-to-back with the Hurricane of Carolina. And the first one is at home on Thursday night. Then they go down to Raleigh on Friday night to rally in Raleigh. And then, of course, Barry Trotz taking over the All-Star proceedings in Tampa. And then they pick the thing back up in New Jersey next Thursday as well. Some thoughts, Ed, just about this Carolina thing here.
Well, this is a big 2 games. Carolina had been playing really well, and now they're reeling a little bit. They were beaten by the Lightning on Tuesday 5-4 in a really close game. Carolina's got some really young talent on the back end. Noah Hannafin, Justin Falk's a very good defenseman, played on the Olympic team. So they've got some good defense, but up front, they just don't have the firepower. Justin Williams is playing on one of their top 2 lines, and Justin's slowing down. He's not getting passes from Kuznetsov or Backstrom. This Sebastian Aho has been very good.
Changes everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It really matters who you play with. Just ask TJ Oshie. He's got an 8-year deal because he came up here and got with Ovechkin and Backstrom. And I love Oshie as much as anybody. But, it's like playing defense with Ray Lewis. You're going to look a lot better. How many guys got big contracts elsewhere because they play with number 52?
You know what? This is your time to be, saying all that when the playoffs are going on, how good it must be to be a wide receiver when Drew Brees is throwing you the football, right? Or when John Ogden's blocking for you and you're the quarterback or, whatever, when you have a running. I mean, everything complements everything, and I think that's one of the parts of the Capitals. We talk about these other teams, and, dude, you and me have been doing this for a long time. time together, and we don't do it every day of our lives, and there were times back in the 80s where when the Capitals skated onto the ice, they're the better team every night. Most nights when we talk about teams like the Carolina or Hurricanes or any of these teams, when players go away and you say, well, you're not skating with Ovechkin and Backstrom every night. Well, the Caps skate with them every night, right? Literally. I mean, as a team, they walk onto the ice every night with some of the best players on earth and have for a period of time here. And, Trotz coached 20 years waiting to get players like this, right? And every time we measure, it really is a measurement of, how are they going to be tonight? Because on paper, it's like the Patriots. On paper, they win every game, right? Like, literally. Then you have to go play.
Yeah, and it definitely was like that the last 2 years, and it's starting to round into form again this season. When you have Ovechkin, Backstrom, Kuznetsov, Oshie, Carlson on the back, Holtby and Grubauer and net, you're starting with an advantage right off. In Pittsburgh, how many guys have looked good playing with Sidney Crosby and Geno Malkin? So, the Stars really, it's a star-driven game, especially with the way the salary cap is. Your stars have got to be your top guys, and you got to find guys that can come in and fit in and do well with them. I mean, Brett Connolly's got 9 goals this year, and he had 15 last season. He never reached those numbers. He comes to the Capitals and he realizes, hey, this is a good deal for me. I'm gonna sign another deal here, and I'll come in at $1.5 million, and maybe I'll make some bank out of it at the end of it. So, you've seen a lot of players do that. That's the way sports is now. You got to get the stars and build around them, especially with the salary cap.
Ed Frankovic can be found out on our WNST website as well as anytime and anywhere the Caps skate. Anything you want to say about the playoff games this weekend, or you want to yell about Wink Martindale or anything? I mean, I've been giving you the floor to expand upon your Ravens fandom here because, I love hearing what you have to say.
Well, I mean, I like the promotion on the defensive side. I mean, I think he's well liked in the organization.
I think he deserves an opportunity, right? I mean, that's what I would say about it. Deserving of an opportunity and a credible, qualified, knows his way around the building, knows the personnel, and has earned the opportunity. That's what I would say about any guy like Wink Martindale at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens, it's hard to argue with what they've done on defense over the years with their coordinators. A lot of that had to do with, Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and Terrell Suggs. So, I'm just anxious to see what the Ravens do personnel-wise. And like you said, we got 3.5 months to wait for the draft or whatever it is of the draft. This weekend, I hope to get to see some of these games. I'm jumbled up with hockey games. I think the AFC is just going to be blowouts. Both those two games, I think, will be blowouts.
I guess that's the question. I know how much you don't like the Steelers and we don't like the Patriots. What are we going to do? I mean, Steelers, Patriots, I'm probably going to root for the Steelers, to be honest. I mean, I'm not saying I'm rooting for either one of them, and I will be a turncoat. I will be whoever represents the NFC, I will be all in for in the Super Bowl. But from a pure sitting and watching the Steelers and Patriots, I hope the Patriots don't win. That's what I'm rooting against the Patriots, not for the Steelers, if that happens. And we better buckle our seatbelts, right? Because the chances of that not happening right now probably would hurt our feelings even worse, right? Because, if somehow the Patriots go down, well, maybe we would root for the Titans against the Steelers next week, right? Maybe keeping the Steelers out is the goal, but I got no love for Jacksonville, dude, or Tennessee, to be honest with you. I mean.
Yeah, I have no love for anybody in the AFC, but when you stack it up on my dislike list, the Steelers are always going to be number one for me. But
really? So you're okay with another Patriots Super Bowl?
I mean, I can deal. I mean, I can deal with. Really? I think Tom Brady's a cool dude, so I would. I take him, but I want the.
But he's not cheating. NFC. He's great. Yeah, he's great.
Well, But I just can't root for Pittsburgh. I mean, it's in my blood, man. I grew up with a Colts fan, and I go back to even when the plane crashed in the stadium and all the '70s. I mean, there's
I don't know, man. Maybe Tomlin has softened me, or Jerome Bettis, or I don't know. I don't know what to say. I mean, believe me, I do not want to see any parade in Pittsburgh. I mean, that would be a nightmare. But this is going to happen. Seriously, I mean, that's what I would be saying right now in advance of this game is prepare yourself for next week and figuring out how you're going to make sense of it. If you're and a lot of fans are like, I just won't watch or whatever, or I'll just root for the Vikings or the Eagles or whatever. I mean, can you imagine Eagles-Steelers Super Bowl? Dude.
I mean, if you're in Vegas, man, the money, the odds got to be really low on the Steelers or the Patriots winning the Super Bowl. I mean, it just sets up for one of them to win it. They have the best quarterbacks. They got the best teams.
Steelers got to get healthy, though. Yeah.
Who's that?
Steelers got to get healthy.
Oh, yeah, they got to get Brown on the field. I mean, without Brown, it's a game changer, right? That guy's the best receiver in the league. I'll be rooting for the NFC. There's no doubt about it, but it's tough to watch knowing that it's going to be a Steeler or Patriots parade in all likelihood.
All right, man.
Buckle
up. We got a couple of games here. The Carolina Hurricanes and then a little weekend off, and the Caps get back after it late next week. Ed can be found out on Twitter and at WNST.net. Ed Frankovic joining us here. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Hey, anytime, Ness. You have a good one, and the Caps will be off for a while, so we'll talk again, I guess, on the other side.
Enjoy skating around with the kids next week, man.
That's Hockey Fest.
Ed Frankovic, all of his children play hockey. He's out on a frozen pond near you and watching all things Caps as a longtime Caps historian, statistician, blogger, all that good stuff. Ed at WNST.net if you want to reach him. You can find me out in the bay at Toyota.com Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. The morning newspaper ships to your email inbox each and every morning at 7 a.m. It's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Don't forget, releasing Purple Rain 2 chapter by chapter daily for the next 24 days out at WNST.net each and every morning. If you want to go read the story, 5 years now. Crazy. 5-year anniversary of the Ravens championship and the parade. So I'll be reliving some of that because what else is a poor old guy going to do, right? Absolutely. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. Also, if you want to email me on the Ray Lewis bus trip, we're going to be doing some bus trips out to Canton in August for the Ray Lewis induction. I'm kind of excited about it. I haven't been to the Hall of Fame since the Ogden induction with my wife's leukemia battles and all the craziness going on. So I am looking forward to going out there. But I'm going to make it a big hootenanny. We're going to make it a couple of day thing. So email me, nasty at WNST.net. I'm still putting all that together here this week. Last but never least, any breaking news? When the Orioles don't deal Manny Machado, you'll get it first on the WNST text service. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford at Security Boulevard. You learned about the promotion of Wink Martindale there on Tuesday night as well. And, of course, Dennis is here on Thursday from 3 until 5. It is the SSV on WNST. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Taos in Baltimore. We never stop talking Baltimore sports.